SiriusXM is where moments happen, and you'll find them here 24/7. In music, talk, sports, comedy, and news. Live and on demand. And they're on in your car, online, or on the app so you won't miss a thing. Visit SiriusXM.ca/never miss a beat. Hey guys, welcome once again. Hope everybody's having a great evening. You're logged into CMA Live presented by SiriusXM. I'm your host, Ben Wu, of course, for another exciting episode together. Thank you for joining us. Every week we do our best to try to bring the content and the themes and the topics that mean the most to you, the dealers of the Canadian 12-volt industry. Well, this week is certainly no different. When I first got into the discussion with Frank, our executive producer, about this topic, I'll be honest, I was a little bit intimidated, and I'm the first, I'll be the first to acknowledge the fact that I'm a little old school. And for me, when you say the words OEM integration, man, that brings back flashbacks of, a wiring kit, a dash kit, and maybe an antenna adapter. I mean, there you go. I'm integrating to the original equipment. But I'll tell you what, these days, OEM integration has taken on an identity all to itself. It is an expanded category with tons of opportunity, but also with its challenges. Tonight, we have some of the best names in the business when it comes to OEM integration. The pros that come along with those brands, they'll be able to help us understand this segment of OEM integration, how you as a shop can harness the products and the offerings out there to hopefully convert that into more sales this upcoming season. But before we get started, I've got a couple of updates I definitely want to go through. First and foremost, Knowledge Fest Live. I mean, that's coming up in 9 days time from December 11th to 13th. Registration is certainly open. Obviously, the Dallas event is now being run as a virtual event. I know the team over there has been working very hard to present a format that'll be interesting for everybody and beneficial, of course, to the industry. Make sure you check that out. Knowledge Fest Live. Registration is open. Head on over to knowledgefest.live and make sure you register for that event. Now, if you've been following us on Facebook and even on our website, CanadianMobileAudio.com, you're going to notice that we launched a brand new series that we're bringing to the market, and that series is going to be called CMA Connected. So what you're watching now is CMA Live, which is the great guests, the panel, big themes. CMA Connected is going to be a much more streamlined offering where I'm going to be able to talk one-on-one with Canadian dealers, Canadian installers, Canadian distributors, and manufacturers. And we're really going to get intimate and go 30 minutes with no interruption and focused on a single subject. So look for it. That's called CMA Connected. We should be having lots of new video content for you under that title for weeks to come, and it should be starting as early as next week. In fact, we did launch our pilot episode, which we spotlighted the guys over at STP Canada for Standard Plast. Go on over to our Facebook page or our website and check that out. Okay, let's get serious. Let's roll up our sleeves. Let's dive into this wonderful world of OEM integration. And to help me navigate, of course, and maybe more so than ever, I'm going to need his hand, my co-captain for the evening. Let's bring on Mr. Jeff Bates, our resident technical specialist representing Lockdown Security. What's going on, Jeffrey?
Thanks for having me, Ben. Not much. I'm looking forward to tonight's episode. We got some really, really great guests and some great brands being represented, and I'm here to help. So lean on me tonight.
Brother, I'm going to be leaning on you something hard because we've got some big names. We've got PAC in the house. We've got Metro with Access in the house. We've got WaveTech. We've got, of course, iData, ADS, and we have Nav TV, Zen Audio also in the house. So we've got a lot to cover tonight. Here's what I'm going to lean on you for, Jeff. I admittedly, right at the beginning of the show, I said I don't know a lot about what's going on. I could kind of figure out where the challenges may be, but I'm going to be counting on you to make sure that our viewers, get the information they need and that we ask the right questions from these guys, because their time is precious. We appreciate them having them here, and hopefully we can squeeze all the juice we can out of them. So what do you say we get started?
Let's get started. I'm excited.
All right. So the first person we're going to get on is a juggernaut when it comes to Zoom trainings and everything that has to do with this industry. Everybody knows this guy. We are very happy to have him. And he's representing PAC. Jeff Smith, Director of Training for PAC. Welcome to CMA Live. What's going on, Mr. Jeff?
Hey, what's up, Ben? What's up, Jeff? How you guys doing?
Doing good.
Really, really good. This is an episode that I've been looking forward to because for those of you who know me, yes, I've been a lifelong, passionate person when it comes to mobile audio. But I'm also the first to be able to admit as I get older that I don't know a whole lot about these new emerging segments like OEM integration. So I'm going to start with you because I know you're going to start us off on the right foot. Jeff, talk to us a little bit about PAC and what is the parent company and where does that sit in the market?
So PAC is the integration company that has been around, man, for well over 40 years. And when most of us old dogs got in the industry, PAC was that company that made all of the specialty little products, all of the caps and coils to build passive crossovers, noise filters. Everything. PAC has always been the installer's friend, because it was all the little trinkets that you needed in the bay on the backside to help you get the job done. So PAC was acquired by AMP in 96, and AMP Global is the parent company of PAC and a few other high-profile brands within the industry. And integration is where we are really starting to change a lot of our focus. For years, the industry has known AMP to be Cardio Walmart, if you want to. I use that a lot because we were a distributor at first, and then we started manufacturing specific parts and started acquiring other companies and started to have a very wide offering from audio to safety to connectivity and all the accessories from Stinger and all the other brands within the company. But PAC's focus is really to connecting cars to technology. That is really what PAC is there for. So whether someone is adding an aftermarket head unit to their OEM system, or if they're modifying their OEM system by adding new amplifiers, speakers, and so forth and so on, we pretty much dive into whichever way we can help the installer become better at their job and make their jobs easier, for sure.
For sure. And you've touched on some very important points, which leads to my first question. But before we do that, just to clarify for our Canadian market, PAC products are available through Gentech.
Correct.
Right, just to clarify that. So if you're interested, make sure you contact Gentech International. Okay, Jeff Bates, if you don't mind, I have my first question. What are some of these modern, I guess, I don't want to say problems, but maybe challenges that shops are facing right now when it comes to OEM integration that you see?
Well, Jeff.
Jeff. Sorry, no, the question was, I'm sorry, the question was for Jeff Smith. Sorry about that, Jeff Bates.
Oh, okay, sorry. In today's world where we see cars evolving, more sophisticated, more complex than ever before. Long gone are the days of just grabbing a basic kit and harness or even having to break out the Sawzall, right? Those days are pretty much gone. Nowadays, cars are so integrated into the electrical systems that modern problems for us, as far as the industry and most shops, come into two facets. You're going to run into problems with radio replacement, where the radio screen itself, or the radio itself, is a modular system where the radio's in the back, it's a separate brain. You have an infotainment screen in the dash that's, number one, integrated into the factory plastic. Number two, is connected to the CAN bus system in the vehicle. Number three, it's going to have your climate controls and anything else in the vehicle's electronic system running through that OEM screen. These newer radio systems, they're premium branded, Beats Audio, Boston Acoustics, Infinity, Kicker, all these high-end audio brands have gone in and done miraculous jobs for what OEM audio has become, right? It's nothing like how it used to be back in the early 80s and 90s. It's totally different audio systems now. And then, we have to deal with all the new connectivity, Bluetooth, apps as far as like Alexa and CarPlay and things like that are huge. So when a potential client comes into a retail shop, they literally are torn between if they have a mid to upper end vehicle, do they really want to take that screen out, right? For the mid to lower body style vehicles or trim level vehicles, their thought process automatically, hey, I want a larger screen in the dash, right? So we have to attack it in two different ways. If they do have that larger screen in the dash with a mid to higher end trim level vehicle, then if they're going to keep that head unit, then we need to show our dealers how to be experts in integrating into those systems. So we come out with products that pretty much lean in different areas, whether you're replacing the head unit in a modern vehicle or you're adding on to that system. So we try to divide our products into those two different avenues, because that's really your only two ways once a customer walks into your store.
What would you have to say about that, Mr. Bates?
I would have to agree with all of that. We as dealers face a lot of challenges nowadays when it comes to making that decision, not making the decision for the customer, but helping the customer to make the decision on whether or not it's worth it to change the radio, or whether it's possible to change the radio, or whether they should keep the existing and add on to that. And then the challenges that we face that a company like PAC helps to solve is, how do we, if we're not replacing the radio, how do we get the best sound for the customer, the best performance, and how do we make that car perform not only better than what it came with, but retaining all the functions and connectivity that Jeff mentioned.
So I want to mention, you mentioned something very important, like, some of these vehicles come with full out control for, like, extra cameras or heating, or, the whole climate control. Are you saying that these are products that could help integrate into aftermarket radios? Is that what this is about?
100%. So we go about it in many different facets. So we have vehicle specific integrated kits that allow you to take your integrated factory system out and replace it with an aftermarket, regardless of the brand of radio, regardless of the size of the radio and style. And we keep all of the factory functions retained. Our new series of integrated kit solutions has a 5.2-inch bar style screen inserted into the kit that allows you to retain factory climate controls, TPMS information, any type of camera options, even having the ability to add additional cameras. Any type of vehicle information that would have been on that factory screen, we bring that into our dash kit. Now, there are other solutions out there that put it directly on the radio screen, and those are awesome solutions. But we went at it a different route because we aren't always we're not always first to market, right? Our kind of mantra is being best to market, right? So we may not always be the first company to jump out there with a new product. So we'll look to see what's in the marketplace available and see how we can make it better for a dealer and be more versatile for a dealer. So we try to leave the options open for a dealer, not specifically to have to carry a certain type of radio, or if the customer comes in with their own radio. Our product's a little bit more wide variety and cover more applications and give the dealer more choices to offer the customer at different price points.
And that's very well noted, especially if you take the time to go through your catalog. But on that same note, I'm going to have to mention, there are those problem vehicles out there too. And I think PAC's come up with some pretty unique, vehicle specific solutions as well, haven't you?
Yeah, we have some pretty neat vehicles specific solutions. Looking at the marketplace, we also look at the amount of data that comes into us from a lot of different resources within the industry. And we look at the key amount of vehicles, or the high level of vehicles that are being upfitted, right? So you look at your Jeep Wranglers, you look at your Silverados, you look at your F-150s, your Dodge Rams, Charger, Challenger, Camaros, things like that. Those vehicles are in heavy rotation within most retail stores, and they're being upgraded. So like one of the things we just dove headfirst into was the Jeep Wrangler Gladiator market. And we have an integration kit for the Jeep Wrangler Gladiator market that is hands down probably the best infotainment solution, integrated, built in. We give you more features than what the factory did. We give you a larger screen regardless of the fit of the OEM system, whether it's the 5-inch screen all the way up to the factory 8-inch screen. We integrate in a 8-inch and 10-inch aftermarket system, head unit system from our Stinger brand, and we mix our two brands together. Being the large company that we are, we have so many different avenues to pull technology from, whether it's our safety brand from EchoMaster, our accessory brand from Stinger, and now Head Unit Company, audio key features from our Finger School audio brand, and of course the integration part from Pack. And when you mold and mend all those together, we can create these vehicle specific solutions like the new Jeep Wrangler kit. And that kit is everything you would want. I mean, we polled so many different customers and actual Jeep owners that were outside of the industry before we released this kit, and made sure that it completely connects into the data bus. It requires no permanent damage to the vehicle. We created a harness that's pretty much plug and play. Steering controls are retained. If you want the factory Alpine amplifier, if they have the upgraded system, it's retained. All the vehicle information is on the screen. I mean, everything is completely controlled from the easy to reach from the driver's seat, from the steering controls, CarPlay, Android Auto, up to 6 cameras of input. If the vehicle is equipped with 2 factory OEM cameras, we still add 4 additional cameras. So, I mean,
I guess that'd be good for rock crawling, maybe. If you want to put a camera in the front or something. Yeah. Cool.
Exactly. So it's the way of life. I mean, OEM integration now is about fit and function and being able to give your customer everything that they want and more, and do it in a way that's profitable for our dealers, right? That's a fast, reliable, and safe solution. And from a retail standpoint, you want it to be priced right. But from a dealer standpoint, like Jeff from Lockdown Security, when you have a customer come in the bay, you want to deal with the brand that you know is extremely reliable, right? So a company that actually takes the time to do the background data, do ton of beta testing, do ton of external beta testing with customers, so you get real world feedback and be able to turn that into a rock solid product. That's exactly what we do with all of our Pack products.
Before I let Jeff Bates unleash his knowledge on me, there is one more question I had for you, and you mentioned it in the beginning of our conversation. You know, there's customers that want to come in and they want to improve their sound. What solutions does Pack have as far as amplifier integration is concerned?
Well, as far as amplifier integration for modern data bus controlled vehicles, we have our series of Amp Pro modules. So Amp Pro modules are T harnesses. So everyone's familiar in Canada with T harnesses for security. So we did a full line of T harness vehicle specific modules that allow you to plug Amp Pros directly into these data bus controlled vehicles, whether they're amplified and non-amplified in some situations, and give you full 3 sets of 5-volt out RCA, and even an optional Toslink optical out. Since everyone's going into DSPs, you guys had a show a few weeks ago on DSPs, right? DSPs are huge in our industry now. So giving that customer or the dealer the option to plug directly into the factory OEM system, bypass all of the craziness that Bose and all the other OEM audio companies did, and give you the same audio quality that you would get from a high-end Alpine, high-end Sony, high-end Kenwood, all the other head unit brands you had out there, right? So that sound quality, that reliability, and all the options, we give you that through our Amp Pro series. And we make that for Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep plug and play, for the GMC platform, for Toyota, Ford, and we even have models that go into some of the higher end elaborate cars like Maserati and some other vehicles like that cross over within the Chrysler platform. And we're constantly evolving and doing more and more and adding more applications. And the fact that we have a GM unit that works in amplified and non-amplified, we have the newer Chrysler module that works in amplified and non-amplified. So it doesn't matter what your vehicle or how your vehicle is equipped, you bring it in the building. And as long as the dealer is educated and knows the products, knows the mantra of Pack being a quality product, you can definitely upgrade those newer model vehicles with complete confidence.
Wow. Mr. Bates, this is sounding very interesting. I'm starting to see the angle here from the dealer. What say you?
I again, I agree with everything that Jeff mentioned. And, one of the key things when you're doing this type of work is you want to have a product like the Pack product that's reliable, that you can count on, and that is fast to install. Now, not fast in terms of cutting corners fast, but fast that you don't have to worry about troubleshooting a product that may or may not work. You want to have that confidence that when that car comes in the bay or that truck comes in the bay, you can get a product that you can plug in, and especially with a plug and play T-harness, plug it in, add your specific brand of amps or speakers that you're adding to it, and know that your result is going to be exactly what you want it to be without any trouble. So, I've heard a lot of good things about the Amp Pro line, and one of the great things I've heard is just how just like Conrad had posted there on Facebook of, how easy it makes it to upgrade a lot of these factory audio systems, especially in the domestic vehicles like the Fords, GMs, and Dodge trucks are so complex in a lot of their different trim levels that the Amp Pro line is making that, it's taking away that complexity, basically.
Yeah, so everyone's if the dealers are currently, if they're already familiar with the Amp Pro line, they're going to be extremely pleased that we just released a new series of Amp Pro. It's called Amp Pro Sub. So if a dealer's not looking to do a complete system with front rear sub output, if they only want to add a subwoofer to their system, now we have a 2-channel solution that's the same plug and play system that will give you full audio output capability to do a subwoofer. It's already pre-crossed over, so you're not going to cheat the system and try to use the DSP with 2 channels in and just do that. But it's meant strictly to add a subwoofer to these modern data bus controlled vehicles, and we even include ANC bypass harnesses in those vehicles that would have a ANC issue. So yeah, so that's one of the things, we look forward and we talk to our dealers and we get hands-on with them and we see all the problems that they run into. So we want to make sure that we pack all the solutions, pack all the solutions into, one module. So that way, when you open that box, everything is there. Just insert your labor and your technician, man, and go for it. I mean, it's going to be solid product.
Good stuff. Hey, Jeff, thank you for taking the time helping us open the show with Stride. I hope you can hang around with us a little bit. We're going to bring you back at the end when we have a little bit of a powwow with everybody and a little roundtable. So thank you for your time. Hey, guys, if you're tuning in now, thank you for joining us. We're talking OEM integration. If you're interested in PAC products, make sure you contact either Gentech International or Automobility out of Montreal for PAC products within Canada. Jeffrey Bates. That was a good start. I'm starting to understand what this is all about. Customers are coming in with problems. They want a solution. The dealer has to know that these products are out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right? The dealer does have to know. And, you want to be able to, again, rely on brands like PAC that are not going to be causing more issues when you're already dealing with integration issues. You want something that's going to try and solve those integration issues.
I think this is a great segue to our next guest. We're talking about brands that put in the time for R&D and beta testing. This brand is no stranger to OEM integration. I almost say they might be the granddaddy of OEM integration. And joining us, representing Metra and Access Products, is the Canadian sales rep for Metra, Mr. Gatlin Sandhu, who's joined us previously on a lighting episode. We're happy to have him back again. What's going on, Mr. Sandhu?
Mr. Ben Wu and Jeff Bates, thanks for having me.
Man, how can we have an OEM integration episode and not have you? That'd be silly. Come on.
That's true. That's true.
I mean, it doesn't even make sense. So let's dive right into it. We have no time to waste. Gatlin, obviously, Metra, big player. We already went through this. But tell the folks at home and the shops watching, where does Access play in all this?
Access is a brand that a lot of our retailers and distributors are familiar with in regards to OEM integration. If you're a shop, you've been using a lot of other products which are unrelated to OEM integration, but also somewhat related. Our dash kits, our harnesses, our antenna adapters. I got some of the products here behind me, but we started off kind of with our steering wheel control module. Our new packaging here, it's our AXSWC, formerly known as the ASWC, if you guys are familiar with that. Obviously, we've been making data interfaces for quite some time now. I can't tell you exactly how many years, but quite a few years now since GM kind of came up with the original LAN system, I guess you could say. So there's those there, and of course anything. We've got the brands that are behind us here. We have integration pieces for USB factory dongles. We have integration pieces for dash kits, our Turbo Touch kits. Access has just been around for many, many years doing the OEM integration. And so to add to that now, we're also doing our AX DSP and our AX DSP Lite.
Well, I was hoping you were going to mention that because, coming off that conversation with Jeff, customers are coming in. They almost know that it's not as easy as it was before. So they're not even sure what's available. The customer comes in and he's like, is there a way that, I can bump up my sound because I'm really not happy with this? What are the solutions? What are are there easy fixes?
Well, there are, as previously mentioned, a lot of the vehicles that are coming into the retail these days are heavily OEM integrated in regards to Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, backup cameras, factory sat radio, steering wheel controls, front rear cameras, 360 view cameras. And it's getting harder and harder to integrate into that or take that away just to duplicate it with a dash kit and a harness solution and replacing it with an aftermarket radio. And so that's where our AX DSPX and our AX DSP Lite come into play. The Lite has 4 inputs, 6 outputs, front, rear, and subwoofer. The AX DSPX has 6 inputs and 10 outputs, and they're individually assigned outputs. Also includes the bass control knob. It's very versatile. You can use it in an OEM situation, and you can even use it in a aftermarket head unit situation as well. The app that we have on our cell phones here allows us to fully program and change any of the parameters, equalization of the aftermarket system using our phone. And so when you look at integrating into an aftermarket or OEM system, say a Honda Civic, a brand new Honda Civic, for instance, um, it looks very streamlined. It's very simple. This is an efficiency in the bay piece. This is what I like to call it. A retailer can go grab it off the shelf, grab any of our existing digital signal processor plug and play harnesses for an array of vehicles, and that we're always adding to those vehicles as well. Our application charts are always expanding, and this is what I like to call a efficiency in the bay piece. You know, you can grab it, you can rely on it, you can plug and play it. It takes less than 15 minutes. If you're familiar with how to remove a radio, it's literally just remove the radio, plug our DSP plug and play harnesses in, and you've got your pre-outs ready to go to add an amplifier, subwoofer, speakers, and so on.
Now, I'm listening to you describe that, so I'm going to go to Jeff Bates here. Jeff, is it really that simple? Are we actually talking about plug? You know, because the word plug and play has been loosely used in different markets. I want to hear from the installer what he has to say.
Yeah, for sure. You know, a lot of these interfaces, especially the ones that are coming with plug and play harnesses, it really is that easy. It's literally the interface is going in line with the outputs of the factory radio, and then basically output from the factory radio, and then input to the OEM amp or to your aftermarket amplifier. So yeah, a lot of these interface products, access included, a lot of it is truly plug and play with the right harnesses. And I wanted to say, I mean, Gatlin brought up a great point with the Honda Civic. It's amazing that, you know, in days gone by, the Honda Civic was considered an entry-level car. But now you can have Honda Civics that have more complex audio systems in them, not just Honda Civics, Toyota Corollas, and all the entry-level cars, where these types of integration products are required on a car that you would normally consider to be an economy car that wouldn't be as highly outfitted from the factory. So, you know, good for access for making these parts, and again, just showing how important these things are to the industry. So,
if I could ask Gatlin, you know, I'm a shop. I want to know if I'm looking at the access line. What are some of the hot items? What do I have to have in stock to play this game?
And in stock, and if you're a retailer, honestly, you want to carry a variety of our dash kits, 95 series, 99 series, our 70 series harnesses, our 40 series antenna adapters. If you want to make real good money in the bay, you're going to start carrying all of our speaker adapters, our speaker adapter plugs. You know, there's some hearsay about, you know, are plugs better? Do we cut off the factory plugs? Do we, you know, harness into that? You know, plug and play, boys. It's really that easy, and it's an extra, you know, 20, 30, 40, 50 bucks in your pocket at the end of the day. We make all those extra little pieces, and again, we're expanding those offerings from Metra as well. Some of our new CMA 2020 products are some of those speaker adapters and plugs that are getting into, you know, Fiats and all sorts of oddball vehicles that are coming out with odd speaker spacing and sizing. And so we're always adapting, and we're always evolving our product offerings for OEM integration and speakers and amplifiers and Harley Davidson side by sides. You know, Metra as a whole is such a large company, and there are so many different product offerings within the Metra brand that, you know, if you really start looking closely at our website and catalog offerings, you'll start to see that it's actually mind-blowing how many different SKUs that we have to help the retailer make more money and become more efficient in the bay. And, you know, if you have to have anything in the shop, you want to have a good array of our 95, 99 series, 70 series dash kits, harnesses, and of course all of our antenna adapters. And, you know, when you start getting into some of the module pieces, You want to carry some of the most common stuff, and any of our distributors in Canada can help you with that. And some of you guys may be wondering, who can you get these products from in Canada? And
You took the question right out of my mouth.
Yeah. And we have a large array of distributors in Canada. We've got Importel, we've got B&B, we've got GCM, we've got Gentech, we've got Sobel, we've got Robert Taber, we've got I want to make sure I get them all here, because there's a lot.
But arguably the most widely distributed product line in our industry, I would say.
Absolutely, and we're likely one of the largest companies that a lot of our retailers use, and so we have to have that outfit in regards to our distribution in order to actually facilitate the parts that are coming into Canada.
So this show is about helping installers, helping shops maximize technology and products that are out there. What message do you have? Like, how can access? I mean, I get it. If I have the right SKUs, if I get the right products that you're mentioning, maybe I can make that extra sale. But how important? Like, we're talking, is this something that should be at the forefront of what you're looking at 2021? I mean, you offer a lot of different products. We're talking OEM integration specific.
There comes a lot of fear with integration. I've been to Knowledge, I've listened to Knowledge Fest, and there's a lot of respectable, very knowledgeable gentlemen that are training there at Knowledge Fest, and it can be daunting, it can be scary, it could be you listen to somebody speaking about OEM integration, and you start talking about RTAing and all the details, and you kind of start thinking to yourself, whoa, and some of these guys are talking about Lamborghinis, Ferraris, Maseratis, Bentleys, and they're getting into the heavy integration game. Metra is not, making pieces for Lamborghini Huracans or, Ferraris or Bentleys or things like that. We're more catered to your average everyday vehicle that you'll see on the road every day: Honda CR-Vs, HRVs, Jeep Wranglers, Jeep Gladiators, Dodge Rams, Chevy pickup trucks. So the idea is, you want to kind of eliminate the fear. And so what Metra has done to eliminate the fears, we've done all the hard work for you. When it comes to our DSP, when it comes to our plug-and-play CAN bus harnesses for radio replacements, don't be fearful, because it literally is just that easy. As Jeff mentioned earlier, it literally is a plug-and-play affair. And, there are some hiccups here and there depending on where the vehicles are coming from. And, we all learn as, the days go by and new vehicles are coming out and CAN bus coding changes, especially being Metra, an American company. Features in Canada that we get things like heated rear seats, or we'll get things like heated front windshield wiper grids. Those things change CAN bus protocols versus, say, Florida. They have no need for heated windshield wiper grids, and so CAN bus can change.
I don't know. There's some guys backstage that are saying it's pretty cold in Florida right now.
Yeah, I saw some pictures today of some frost on some roofs, so those guys got it pretty hard over there.
And they wonder about our remote starter sales up here. Seriously.
Sure. So that's the answer. Just eliminating the fear is knowing that you can have confidence in our products, that we have the background and the tech support. If you want help, if you need help, you can contact myself. You can contact our tech support team. We have several Facebook applications as well. Our our Metra Dealers Only page, our Metra Tech Support page for dealers only. And if there are questions or concerns or fitment issues or things that you want to have kind of thrown at us and us to improve, we're always here to listen.
Awesome. Jeff Bates.
Yes, sir.
Your opinion on, as a shop, how important is it to have a couple access Metra pieces for OEM?
I think it's really important. You have to identify your core market, where your shop is, and what vehicles you think you're going to see the most of. And, I would agree with Gatlin that, Metra and Access are some of the, most head unit, if not almost all head unit installs, are going to have some form of part from this brand. So, these are the types of parts that if you don't have a 70 series harness or a 40 series antenna adapter, or even some of the kits, that could mean the difference between not getting the job done. So, I think it's important to keep those on the shelf, and I think I also agree with Gatlin with regards to the fear of the OEM integration as a whole segment, because it can be very daunting, and there's a lot to understand and to learn. And the parts that Metra and Access bring to the table, I think, make or get rid of a lot of that fear, especially with the plug and play harnesses, and especially with the tech support that's there. And Gatlin's got one right there.
Gatlin's holding something there. What is that?
Oh, so this is one of our DSP plug and play harnesses, and I really just wanted to show, how simple it really is. And so with the AXDSTX that's behind me here, this is the light, sorry. You literally just take the module out of the packaging, and I'm hoping not to drop any of this stuff here on camera because that will be embarrassing. But here's our module here. So this is our AXDSP light. So it's 4 channels in, 6 channels out. And you'll literally just plug in our plug and play harness into the side of the module here. You'll plug this into the car side, and you'll plug this into the factory radio.
Just like that. Just like that.
Here we also have our speaker harness. So when you're going to be adding an amplifier, if you want to add speed wire to the situation and simplify the install and use the OEM door wiring, if you're not doing anything too heavy in regards to speakers, it's literally just give that little snippy do there, add some speed wire to it, and off to the races you go.
Amazing, amazing.
The other side of this is your RCA outputs, and that's in the box here, but you guys get the point.
Cool. Absolutely. Hey, Gatlin, thank you so much for taking the time and showing us all these great products from Access. If you're listening right now, don't you forget to wait until the end of the show. We've got some special deals that we're going to unveil at the end of the show to get you some Access products right now. And you're going to learn all about the details, but you have to wait until the end. Hey, Gatlin, thanks for coming on, and make sure you stick around. We're going to bring you back towards the end of the show.
Thanks, Gatlin.
All right. Jeff Bates. Gatlin's always cool to have on. And, it seems like, obviously Metro, we know what they do, but Access seems to have a lineup of products. Like he said, kind of for more the common cars. Would you agree with that?
I would totally agree with that. And those are the cars that most of us dealers are seeing on a regular basis. So that's our bread and butter for the most part. And I think it's very important to have those parts available. So
I think this is a great segue because we're going to contrast a little bit and go to maybe a little bit different direction. Our next guest represents a brand called WaveTech. He's the CTO. His name is Jason Kemmerer. And before we bring it on, I got to let you know, I'm intimidated by this gentleman. His knowledge intimidates me. I have no idea what he's about to say. I want to learn what WaveTech's about. I know, Jeff, you're going to hold my hand through this one, but I can't be more excited to have him on. Can we please get Jason on the show so we can get into WaveTech? Mr. Kemmerer, how are you? Welcome to CMA Live.
Hey, Ben, doing great. Thanks for having me. Hey, Jeff.
Hey, Jason.
You have a nicer, soothing voice than I expected. I don't know why I was so intimidated. Maybe it's because of all the technology and all those gadgets you have behind you.
Sure. Yeah, this is my lab here, so good backdrop for this, I guess.
That's amazing. So I was mentioning just before I got you on, we've had 2 great presenters. I'm going to dive right into it here. Talk to us and help me understand what WaveTech is about and where WaveTech sits as far as the players in the OEM integration game.
Yeah, so WaveTech primarily what we make are audiophile grade preamps, and it's our primary focus is on audio integration. So what the other guys were talking about are various aspects of OEM integration, but our lane is primarily keeping the factory radio and upgrading the sound system. And as everybody knows, this goes way back. I mean, even back in the day when we used to do surveys about how many people were keeping their factory radios, it could be upwards of 50+% of subwoofer add-ons were keeping the factory radio. So this category has been around for a long time, but there really wasn't anything that was designed from the ground up that addresses all of the vehicles end to end. So yeah, in a nutshell, I mean, we focus on the sound performance side of keeping the factory radio and adding amplifiers and speakers, and that entails a lot of stuff. So
well, we're going to get into that lot of stuff, but the first comment I have is, I mean, it only makes sense. Look at how the factory car radio, if you will, has evolved in the last 10, 15 years. We used to get a cassette deck and 2 knobs. Now it's like, I mean, there's cars with giant LED panels and everything's integrated. So I would imagine that, and especially if you're talking about a clientele that's interested in more an audiophile sound quality type of situation, it must be complex. So what are the products that you have in place to deal with these kind of challenges?
Well, our product line is pretty small, actually. I mean, we have 7 core models that range from 2-channel up to 8-channel, and that incorporates everything from summing to auto turn-ons to boosting the voltage to get great signal noise in a system. We have master volume controls on some of the models that allow you to go before or after the amp, depending on what the system is. But it was really a big challenge to get to minimize the line with the maximum amount of coverage. And within those 7 models, we cover 95% of the vehicles on the road. The fact is that you can achieve great sound with our products for about 95% of the vehicles on the road today. Yeah, that's it.
Well, I mean, I know that Jeff was telling me beforehand, he was like freaking out that I didn't know more about WaveTech. So Jeff, I'm going to let you talk a little bit about, the significance of this product line and where its place is in the dealer's heart, especially on the shelf.
You know what? I think that WaveTech should be, if you're into doing car audio, WaveTech should be a brand that you keep in stock, and you should be focusing on it because, to be honest with you, I mean, long gone are the days of the basic line output converter, and here are the days of the advanced products such as WaveTech makes. And these are the products that will allow you to literally replace or upgrade. As Jason was saying, I mean, on 95% of vehicles, a product that WaveTech makes will allow you to upgrade the factory audio system. And without having some of these products on the shelf, you'd be hard pressed or unable to add amplifiers to a lot of these vehicles.
So we're talking everything from amplifiers. What if I just want a subwoofer? You know, I'm happy with the high end. I just want to add a sub. Are these the type of products that have those solutions for that?
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I gotta say, I mean, how long has WaveTech been around? Has this been you mentioned, line level output. This is obviously a very advanced setup or advanced system to that or solution to that conundrum. But how long has it been, and is it growing? Is it? I mean, I can only see it expanding based on the type of vehicles that are coming up.
Yeah, I mean, the fact of the matter is, and it's come up several times, that a lot of dealers are still intimidated by OEM integration, and we really focus on just getting dealers familiar with the basic tools you need. I mean, you can do full-blown audio integration with something as simple as a voltmeter and some third octave test tracks, really. And so we focus on just getting guys started. Don't be intimidated. Don't be afraid of all pass filters, all this kind of stuff that's talked about a lot. I mean, obviously, there's DSPs out there that do all sorts of crazy stuff. But like I said, the fact of the matter is, you can make great sounding cars with just upgrading the bass. I mean, that's the number one thing most customers will notice the difference of is improved bass. Right, so that's the number one upgrade. But yeah, we have several models that address just primarily the bass upgrade, and then we go up to 4, 6, and 8 channels because even basic cars nowadays have factory crossovers from the OEM system, so there's no full range signal in the car. And we have a 4-channel model, for example, that addresses 2015 Silverados, that even the bass Squintovision 4-inch screen radio has a fixed 2-way front end, and you can sum that and still preserve a subwoofer level out for a full system upgrade.
Help me understand that part about the factory crossovers. How does that work? I mean, how do you get the signal out of that?
Yeah, I mean, gone are the days where they're using dual cones and all the full range sound is coming from a single speaker set. Now, depends on the vehicle, of course, but some of them are passively crossed over, just like you have in an aftermarket component set with the passes. But what a lot of the OEMs have taken to do is doing up dash midlers, like little 2-inch drivers, and those are high pass, so there's no bass or even lower mid-range in some cases coming out of those speakers. So if you try to grab that signal just for your fronts and upgrade your system, it's going to sound horrible. So you really need to mix that with the other driver to create your own full range. And in a lot of cases, you can have a front 2-way, even a rear 2-way, and we have products that allow you to preserve fading and some independently front and rear, still preserve a sub. So the whole gamut, really.
You mentioned something very important, about getting into OEM integration from a dealer standpoint. What tools, are there additional tools? Is there a set of tools that dealers should consider when it comes to getting really more serious into OEM integrations?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I spent probably the first third, if not half, of my usual trainings just introducing shops to and installers to the kind of tools they need. Everything from a decent voltmeter to a data logging voltmeter to an oscilloscope to an RTA, and it's not expensive. I mean, I've got an example here. I was going to show you about how summing works. I mean, this little guitar preamp with some attenuators connected to it allows me to test systems all the way up to 40 volts and get a full frequency response visually, and I can see exactly what I need to do to sum this full range into the car. I guess if I can show you this right now, if I can get it on a good angle.
Yeah, we can see it. Yeah, we can see it.
So say this is your factory high pass. This is a 3-way sample I'm simulating with an aftermarket deck. This is your factory high pass. This is your factory mid range. So there's no full range signal there, right? And just by manipulating these switches on the top of this Link 8 that I'm using, I can show you where all of the factory crossover points are. And then you can just, by manipulating these switches, I can sum these together and get a flat frequency response.
There it is. Yeah.
And this little adapter here is only about $100, and actually you can get an analog one for an aux-in jack on your smartphone for like 50 or 60. So it's very inexpensive. You can have everything from RTA, oscilloscope, voltmeter, all for under a couple $100, and that's every single tool you possibly need to do OEM integration. And I think I was gonna mention too, when you're summing these kind of systems, you can actually adjust the frequency response just by the way that you sum it. So there, just by adjusting the levels and the mixing that I'm doing, I've just created a pretty sweet response curve. So
there it is.
That's what I mean by that.
Jeff Bates, tell me that's not cool, because I find that's really cool, and it's way simpler than I thought it was.
Yeah, I find it way cool as well, and I've been in a couple of the trainings that you've done, Jason, and I was always impressed by the tool sets that you have, that you've shown, and it is definitely inexpensive to get the right tools, and the right tools are what are going to allow you to be prepared to really delve deep into the OEM integration. And one of the things I wanted to touch on, why I keep WaveTech products in stock at my shop, is that they're universal, right? So you can have the 2-channel, the 4-channel, the 6-channel, the 8-channel. You can have those on hand, and you can know that they work on pretty much any vehicle. But if you have them on hand, you know that you're prepared for pretty much anybody that walks through the door of your shop. So I believe that, if you're going to be in car audio doing these types of installs, a brand like WaveTech is something you should have on the shelf for sure.
Yeah, and I would throw in there too, I mentioned in the beginning that really what we make are true audiophile preamps. Not just for OEM integration, but also for radio replacement. I mean, still there's a good amount of radio replacement going on, but in a lot of cases, way back in the day when line drivers were around, it was addressing a need because there was pretty weak outputs out of most radios. But nowadays, with a lot of aftermarket radios, their focus has shifted away from sound quality, more about sticking in a lot of features, especially in the AVNs. And all of our products, except for one, the Link 2, all of them are actually line drivers as well, either RCA input or aux input, that will allow you to run standalone systems like in side-by-sides or golf carts, or in the case of replacing the factory radio, if you're running your system off of the deck power and then you're adding a sub. Well, all these radios that say they're 4 volt, 5 volt, whatever on the RCAs, that's actually only when the volume is at its absolute max, and the radio clips way before that. So in a case of this radio that I'm using here, the speaker outputs actually start clipping at about a volume 21 out of 35, but the RCAs are only putting out half a volt at that level. So what does that mean? That means you got to crank all the gains up on your sub, and it sounds like junk. So by having a line driver in there, you even out the system gain unbalance and open up that dynamic range of your sub, and it'll hit twice as hard and at the same volume.
Hey, Jeff, sounds like the Link 4 and the Link 6. I mean, what if you had to pick and choose 2 or 3 items that you absolutely have to have, indispensable? What would they be from an installer standpoint?
So from an installer standpoint, I would probably say I like the Link D. I like the Link Q. I'm a really big fan of the Link 4. That's probably my go-to part a lot of the times. And then for your specialized applications where you need those extra channels for input, the Link 6 and the Link 8. I mean, the Link 8 is pretty unique. There's not that many products that are going to give you an 8 channel input like that product does on the market. So to have that is pretty cool. And what I was going to ask you, Jason, is if you could touch upon the other 3 products that you have, the iRad, the Link SL, and the Link LD, specifically from my own personal kind of knowledge, the Link SL and the Link LD, can you kind of go into what those are?
Yeah, I was going to touch on that. Actually, all of our preamp models have loading built in already, and that addresses vehicles that had OEM load detect systems going back 20 years.
Mhm.
And without some kind of load present, a lot of these factory systems will, on startup, will look for a within tolerance what represents a speaker, and if it's not there, they'll mute the channel, or it'll sound distorted, or it'll mute all channels. And so the loading we have already built in addresses basically all the vehicles on the road except for some newer Chryslers, and the Chrysler families, which cover Jeep and Ram and all that. In about 2015, they started requiring some additional loading, and because we already have loading built in, we came out with a first version of that Link LD, which dropped in parallel with our built-in loading to a certain level that addressed that. And then they changed again right around 2017, 2018, and it wasn't every model. So then we revised that, and so now the Link LD basically drops the whole system impedance down to per channel about 36 ohms, and that covers all the amplified and non-amplified from any of the Chrysler vehicles. There's a few corner cases, some Subarus, where you made a little bit more, and that's actually either you put two of those together, plug and play, or the new Link SL is actually a selectable load that's meant to both work with our products that already has some loading, but also universally, and you can select what load you need for any vehicle to enable the system.
Very cool. So if you had, obviously being a 2-channel device, both the Link SL and the Link LD,
right?
So if you had basically obviously 8 channels of input or 6 channels, that would mean if you had 6, it would be 3 of those pieces
Right.
you would need, and 8 you would need 4. Okay.
Right, 3 or 4, and also in some systems you may not reconnect some of the speakers you disconnect, like the center channel, for example, and those need loading too, actually, and so you could either use that by itself or do your own thing. But yeah, it's for convenience. I mean, obviously you could build this, but you can just plug that right in, save yourself a lot of time. Always keep a handful of those around. Any of those Chryslers rolls in, you're gonna want to have that. The beauty of us having it already built in since the beginning in all our models, that if all of a sudden you don't get sound, that's the issue, right? You're not going to waste an hour trying to figure out why don't I have sound in the system. You're gonna, I just need a little bit more, so you just have to plug one of those in, and boom, you're done, right?
You're done. And then with the IRAD, the ignition remote, can you touch upon that part as well?
Yeah, that's really our only non-audio related product, and even then it is kind of audio related. So we have what I consider probably the best auto turn on built into all of our models already, both on speaker level and on the RCA or aux in, that detect DC offset and audio level to the point where you're guaranteed it's going to turn on, and those are independently defeatable on all of our units. But there are some cases where the vehicle itself has sustained speaker level on, and it keeps your system on too long, and if you have a mismatch of brand amplifier with whatever else you've got going on in the system, you can have huge system pops that will feedback and stuff. So there may be cases where you want to generate your own 12 volt, or you need a delay, and certainly with stop start cars, that's also a problem if you're generating a 12 volt. If the car's shutting on and off all the time, then you're going to keep losing that trigger. So we have delays that go up to 10 minutes on the ignition generation. There's actually 2 outputs on that, so you can get an ignition out and remote out with independent timing. Even for things as simple as dash cams, you can waste 45 minutes looking for a 12 volt switch in the car that maybe it doesn't even have it. Maybe everything's bus driven. And so for the cost of these things, it's not even worth wasting your time. Just takes less than a minute to program one of these things. You just put in the car, any 12 volt anywhere in the car, start the engine. It learns that voltage after you press and hold the button, turn off the engine, it learns that voltage, and any 2 voltages, right? It can be used to trigger an output with independent delays. So it's
awesome.
Pretty neat. Yeah, we got a patent pending on that. We've also there's another mode in there that's even for bigger systems, which is the stop start relay or solenoid control mode for if you have any amp and the system is drawn more than 30 amps or so, or a 500 watt sub, chances are every time you start the system, if you're listening to it loud, every time the vehicle cranks, that voltage drop causes the amp to reset itself. And sometimes you can alleviate that with just a small battery next to the amp itself, but for the larger systems, you have to isolate the sound system from that main battery voltage drop, and that's where that other mode comes in, where you can actually use the IRAD to automatically detect when the voltage changes, to separate the batteries when you're stopped at a stoplight, and then rejoin them again once you're going again.
Very cool.
Cool.
Definitely an item that wasn't needed a couple years back, but now I can totally see its relevance. Hey, Jay, thanks so much for spending the time and sharing with us the relevance and the place in the market for the WaveTech products. Very, very innovative. We're going to ask you to hang back because, of course, we're going to bring you back at the end. And I want to remind all the viewers, if you're looking for WaveTech products, Importel Distribution is where you want to call. They have the goods. And take Jeff Bates' recommendation, order some of those Link units because apparently you need them. And it sounds like you do. All right. Thanks a lot, Jay.
Thanks, Jay.
Mr. Bates, I know you're a fan of those products for sure.
Yes. My notes next to the brand, I was like, I love this brand.
And Jason, man, what a knowledgeable guy. I mean, he definitely understands the need for the niche products that he has. Yeah. And it sounds like there's a lot of effort and love, labor of love into developing these products. Mm-hmm. The next brand that we have come up is a big brand. They do a lot when it comes to integration, period, whether it's starters or whatnot. But tonight we're talking about OEM integration. He's been on the show with us before, representing automobility and automotive data solutions. Mr. Phil Cameron, come on. Hello, Mr. Philip.
Hey, Phil.
How you guys doing?
You win the award for best looking screen, no doubt. I think I told you that the last time, but you win it again. It just looks so sharp. I don't know how you do that. I'm going to have to get the trick off of you.
It's just blue.
I think it's you. That's the thing. I don't think it's the screen. I think it's actually you. Welcome back again to CMA Live, Philip. Welcome back again.
Thank you for the compliment. I'll take that.
All right. Very good. As you know, of course, we'll be talking all night about OEM integration. And when it comes to OEM integration, Maestro is a name that has been popping up, well, pretty much everywhere. So why don't we start talking about Maestro? How about that, Phil?
What exactly do you want to know about Maestro?
I want to know about what are the key features that is making everybody talk about Maestro products and why everybody seems to be loving to use them.
Well, I think the main benefits about Maestro is that first, we are the latest player to the game as far as audio integration, like PAC and Metro. They've been doing this for so long. They have so much coverage. Great products, amazing companies. But being a little bit later in the game allowed us to do a lot more research and fix some issues that we could improve. And the thing that we do very differently with Maestro is we have a proprietary data port that we go with aftermarket head units, and we are able to pass information to and from the car to the aftermarket head unit. So when we're talking about all those features that are controlled from the OEM screens, that sometimes when you replace that screen for an aftermarket radio, those features might be hard to retain. With Maestro, we are able to retain those features and push all of those settings back into the head unit, even if it's an aftermarket head unit. So for the end user or the customer, they see it like it's flawless. It's the integration to the best level. It's just a matter of touching the screen, just like they were doing with the OEM screen. And in some cases, we add more features than the factory had. So it is true integration.
So what you're talking about sounds seamless. I mean, if I'm a customer, I'm coming in, the last thing I want is to sacrifice any of these features I paid for this new car, right? I mean, that's the last thing I want. All I really want is to, I find my screen's too small. I don't feel like I'm getting good sound. Can you help me? But no matter what happens, I don't want to lose any of these controls. Is this what fixes that solution? That problem, rather?
Exactly. When you go in a Maestro system with a Maestro compatible head unit, you will not lose any of those OEM features, and everything will be intuitive through the screen. Touch the screen, adjust your climate control. If you have one of those big integrated systems where the climate control is part of that OEM screen, you won't lose anything, and everything will still be touch screen. Vehicle settings, like let's say you're driving a pickup truck and you have some tow settings. If you replace that factory head unit, those tow settings are gone. You can't change it, and you don't realize that you need to adjust it because you don't tow stuff every weekend, right? You tow it when you go fishing. Well, maybe not for you because you probably go fishing very often, but the average Joe like me, I don't tow every weekend. I tow once a month. And get your system done, then in 3 weeks you start towing, you're like, oh my God, where are my tow settings? They're gone. With Maestro, they're not gone. They're still part of your aftermarket head unit. You push a button, control it, and away you go.
Are you saying that Maestro actually, you mentioned that you might have even more features in the factory. Why don't you run us through a couple of those exclusive features that Maestro can offer?
Oh my God, there's so many. Where?
Let's start with, safety and convenience. How about that?
Oh, safety and convenience. All right. One of the best example, good example, Toyota vehicles. If you didn't know, the factory security settings are all controlled by the computer. And if you bought a car with a trim level that doesn't have the factory security or the OEM alarm enable, you can't use it, right? But if you wanted to use it, the dealership, what they do is they plug their scan tool and they turn it on. So what Maestro did is they added those hidden menus back into the screen where you, as a user or a vehicle owner, have access to all of these settings now. So you won't lose that. You'll gain more features and more options. A couple of other things also that Maestro does that's very, very different is the way they integrate with the vehicle's camera system. So if you have one of those vehicles that has a front camera, a rear camera, or that 360 system, Maestro will integrate that seamlessly. So we will maintain and retain everything. So if you have an SUV vehicle where you have multiple angles when you back up, you have wide view, narrow view, top view, back view. With Maestro, you'll still be able to control the view that you want. Just tap the screen, select the view, and away you go. If you have a higher end vehicle where there's a front and back camera, when you go back up and you go forward, it will automatically switch from the front to the rear camera. But if you have a regular vehicle that only has a backup camera, you can integrate the OEM installed backup camera to your aftermarket head unit and also add another camera to the front of the car and have that same system that the fancier or more equipped car has, because the Maestro will integrate the factory installed rear view camera with a aftermarket installed front camera. All that you need is a Maestro compatible head unit that has more than one camera input. And everything is programmable, everything is controllable.
I'm gonna pass this over to Jeff for a second. I just have one question. You mentioned Maestro compatible head unit. How much? What is the market like? What is the percentage of aftermarket radios out there that are compatible? Would you say roughly?
All the big players. So Kenwood, JVC, Alpine, Pioneer, and Sony.
They all have Maestro compatible units.
They all have Maestro compatible unit. They all have the Maestro data port in the back, which allows seamless integration. And the good thing about that is that if you are a Kenwood guy, Kenwood operates a certain way. They will have certain features that will be different than a Pioneer head unit or an Alpine head unit. Everything has their own little difference. All the features are offered to all of the partners, but they choose to integrate it in very different ways.
Yeah, Seth Halstead, who was on the show for the head unit episode, certainly took some time to talk about their, the integration with Maestro. So I know exactly what you're talking about. Jeff Bates, you had a question.
So, one of the things that I wanted to bring up was a lot of the customers that we see in our shop, they're actually coming in asking for head units that are Maestro compatible. So they're coming in, educated. They know what the Maestro modules can give them. And it's become almost a selling feature even before they pick the brand of the radio. Their main requirement is to have a radio that is Maestro compatible, specifically the Maestro RR and the RR2. And I was going to say some of the other features that are pretty cool with it, you get OBD2 scanning. So if you have a check engine light, you can turn that on, or you can, or not turn it on, my mistake. You can turn it off and reset it and see what the codes are. And then in areas of, in Canada, because some areas it's illegal to have this, but radar detector integration. So you can have your radar detector information, i.e., where the radar threat is coming up on the screen to the radio. And then you have your auxiliary switches that Seth from Kenwood was mentioning on some of their radios, as well as on steering wheels of every other car using the RR2. You can control auxiliary features like lights and things of that nature. So
could you expand on what the RR2 is for those of you who don't know? For those of us who don't know, because I don't know what the RR2 is. Philip.
All right, so our universal radio replacement unit is called the RR. So RR stands for radio replacement. RR2 is the second generation of the RR. So we made the RR better. So it's a little bit more packed with feature, has more CAN controllers. In regular words, it's just a unit that will be future-proof, that will be able to communicate with more cars as technology advances. There are more and more equipment. And my favorite feature of the RR2, me being a tech, being an installer, I love everything that allows me freedom to do whatever I want, is that the RR2 will give you 3 programmable auxiliary output. Those are analog output that you can trigger a relay, a function, or anything that you want. But this is nothing new. Like we are used to dealing with analog outputs to control stuff that we want. But what makes this interesting is that the RR2 can trigger those output with anything that we see on the data bus. So me, as a technician, I can associate a physical analog wire to trigger whatever I want based on either, let's say, a steering wheel button on my steering wheel of my car, either press release or press and hold, because we can associate one feature or 2 features the way we want, or I can tie it to a specific event. Let's say I'm doing a lane departure system where the car I'm working on, the blinkers, the left, right blinkers are all data driven. It's not an analog system. Well, the RR2 will be able to read left and right blinker, and then you can give yourself an analog output to trigger whatever aftermarket system that you want. You can push this as far as you want. If you've played with any programmable system for home, like you can do macros, like create this, give me a pulse for that long, you can do that with the RR2. You can go as far as every time you see the brake being pressed and released, blink a wire 5 times. So if I want to, I could use a relay, connect to the brake light, the center brake light of my car, and make it blink 5 times every time I step on the brake. So it's truly, truly programmable.
I know Mr. Bates was on the head unit episode. You were asking Chris Tegu from Alpine all about those programmable outputs. Have you had experience with this unit yet, Jeff?
I have with the RR2. I was really excited. I was waiting for it to be released last year, and when it came out, we were really excited about the auxiliary outputs. To be honest with you, I just learned something new. I had no idea that it had macro programming like that, and that's a game changer in and amongst itself, because the possibilities are endless. My brain is lighting up with all sorts of things that we could do with an RR2.
Whatever you can think of, you can do with this. And download the application, the little software, go on the Maestro website, download the software, and just look at it. You can do a follower, so whenever it sees something on, it does something. You can do a latch, you can do a flip-flop, you can give it a delay and then activate, and you can do whatever you want. And you can also associate this with a customized icon on your aftermarket head unit. You've had Seth from Kenwood talking about their new 10-inch screen. You've seen those? Those are sweet.
Yeah.
And what they did differently then is they create you different little icons, pictogram, that can reflect whatever you want. So let's say you're doing a Jeep. Somebody was talking about a Jeep. You do a light bar on the roof, because if you have a Jeep, you must have like 500 gazillion LED, right? So you want to trigger that light bar. Instead of having a switch in the dash, you can have it in your head unit, have the pictogram of a light bar.
Sweet. Yeah.
Choose the name. You can say top light bar, front light bar, rear light bar. This is true integration.
But that's how you impress customers, right, Jeff? I mean, you show them that, they're like, whoa. Sorry, I just on time. I want to move to the another topic, which I know Maestro has kind of been pushing a lot and have some great products out for the Harley-Davidson motorcycle market. If you've been on our website, CanadianMobileAudio.com, we've had a ton of install bays that we featured that has to do with street glides and those big Harley bikes. What does Maestro have going on in that segment?
Oh, this is something pretty cool. So if you're familiar with Maestro, you've seen what Maestro can do in a car. You can have gauges, like Jeff was telling you. You can read codes, you rate codes and all that. And the Harley, Well, we now have support for the RR and the RR2, and it will give you everything that you can get in a car. So you will be able to integrate with your handlebar controls. You'll be able to associate more than one feature, so press and release and press and hold. You will also get the code reader. You will also get the gauges. Obviously, the gauges will be a little bit different than on a card, but you still have access to gauges. And if you are doing a RR2, you can make use of the programmable auxiliary outputs. So now the trend with the Harley Davidson, everybody's riding a bagger and they have air suspension and all that. And I see all these bikes, they're beautiful, but they have physical analog switch somewhere in the fairing to go up and down. Well, if you have an RR2, you can associate whatever your button you want on your handlebar.
Right on the screen.
You can make it rise up or drop. So it's amazing. And for me as a tech, the best feature that the Maestro can do is all about reprogramming that factory radio. So if you want to maintain the original radio, the Harley radio, and if you want to add an aftermarket amplifier to the system, if you've done audio on the Harley, you do know that in some case you need to reprogram that head unit. You need to make it sound good, give you a flat output. There's a company out there, I forget the name, I'm sorry, but they make a little software that you can purchase for it's quite a bit of money, and you can reflash the radio. But with the Maestro AR or the DSR1, it will do that for you automatically for free. So if you are going to install a Maestro compatible DSP with an AR, it will automatically reprogram that factory radio for a flat, clean signal. No need to DEQ to sum to do whatever your magic, your voodoo stuff that you have to do it. Plug it in, and it will do it. And same thing with the DSR1. The AR is built into the DSR1, so it will do all of that for you. So if you're the average tech like me, I'm mostly a remote starter guy, I can now do audio on the Harley, make it sound good because everything is done by the Maestro. It makes me look good as an installer.
Perfect. Jeff, I'm going to leave you the last word or the last question with Phil before we get to the next guest.
I was just going to bring up the DSR1 actually, because I think that's a part that is key to the Maestro brand, but it doesn't get as much publicity as something like the RR or the RR2 does that I've seen. Phil, could you talk a little bit about the DSR1 and what it is?
Very, of course. The DSR1 is an amazing little device. We've talked about it before. Somebody mentioned that now it's very big. Everybody's using a DSP this, you need a DSP. Well, the DSR1 is a mix of the AR, so a data translator from a CAN bus or data bus from the audio to a sound processor. So it's an all-in-one device. So you can do time alignment, crossovers, you can do EQ, all of that. The only thing that the DSR1 will not do is summing, because there's no need to do summing. And the best part is the price. It's extremely affordable, and it's cross-compatible with whatever brand of amplifier that you want. It's 6-channel in, 8-channel out. You can use it as a standalone DSP if you want to. You can use it with the built-in AR with a plug-and-play T-harness, where you will find the factory amplifier disconnected, plug in the T-harness, make it sound good. Or we just released some new T-harnesses for vehicles that are non-amplified. So go at the back of the head unit, disconnected, plug in your DSR1, and you got yourself a nice preamp with good voltage, and you can do equalization, you can do time alignment, you can do
very cool.
You can do everything.
Awesome.
It works very, very good.
Philip, you are always a wealth of knowledge. I know this is not the last time we're going to have you on CMA Live. Folks, if you're into the Maestro products, make sure you stay to the very end. We've got a special offer coming your way for a very limited time on some Maestro product to get onto your shelf and in your shop. Hey, Phil, thanks so much. We're going to put you in the back studio for just a bit. We've got one more guest, and we're going to bring you back out for a roundtable discussion. Thank you.
Thanks, Phil.
Yeah, that product is almost indispensable. I mean, yeah, they were late to the game, but I think they have a couple of offerings that it's going to be, you'd be hard pressed as a shop to not have in stock. Would you agree with that statement, Jeff?
I would agree with that statement. Better late than never, and I think they've done an amazing job at really becoming one of the standards of the industry for OEM integration.
I think they most certainly have. Last but not least, we have saved a very interesting guest as our last speaker. He represents you know what? I'll let him say it, but I can tell you right now, it's a product that certainly has its place in the industry. I know that before we started the show, Jeff and I were talking about, we were very interested to learn more about Nav TV Zen Audio, and we're tonight joining us is actually the Vice President himself, Mr. Derek Schmiedel. Welcome to CMA Live, Derek. Thank you for your patience.
Hey, Ben. Hey, Jeff. Thanks for having me.
Hey, Derek.
I'll tell you what, Nav TV and Zen Audio has a unique presence and a unique footprint. I would like for you to share with us your thoughts on where Nav TV and Zen sit within the landscape that is OEM integration.
Well, Nav TV's motto is innovating the future. And this has been a very long time coming for our company. It's something that we discussed at least 13 years ago when I started with the company. What's happening is, and I'll date myself, let's just call it the 80s, not to date myself too far. Predominantly, we were installing CD players, aftermarket radios. And the reason was because consumers wanted features that was not there in the factory systems. Fast forward to 5 years ago, 10 years ago, today. The fact is that the vast majority of even base level systems in cars like the Honda Civic, which you brought up before, all the way up to the Lamborghini Aventador and beyond that, are offering features to the consumer that has everything they want. It has Bluetooth, it has navigation, it has CarPlay, it has satellite radio, auxiliary inputs, streaming features. Several years back, we sat down. In fact, when I say several, about 11 and a half years ago, and started thinking about a way to produce something on the caliber of a Alpine F1 Status or a Pioneer ODR. So extremely high end. Again, I'm kind of dating myself. This is the late 90s, early 2000s. These are the benchmark systems that cost anywhere from $6,500 to $8,500. We were curious to see if an OEM system was capable of doing that. And the fact is that they're not just capable of achieving those sound quality levels, they can exceed it, and by far, to studio reference quality. So Zen Audio was launched a little over 3 years ago. Our first product was for General Motors. I know that when you hear the word Nav TV, you think of high-end exotics, but the fact of the matter is that the same technology that exists in a Porsche exists in a Ford, or very similar. So the necessity for these type of devices is becoming a daily necessity. As you know, as has been told by the previous guests, stuff is not getting easier; it's getting harder. And you're about to see a lot more of that roll out to normal brands. I mean, Honda's already doing most. We've got other brands that are going to be on technologies like A2B and AVB, several others. So we set out to actually produce a benchmark product. It wasn't about cost, it was about performance. And very early on, our first product was for General Motors, as I said, the M650. Within 30 days of the release of that, we were very fortunate to partner with a gentleman named Brian Mitchell. And Brian Mitchell competed at the expert level IASCA in October 3 years ago and took home a World Championship SQ Plus trophy. He's repeated that, I believe, 3 times now. So the fact is that in a lot of the cases where a preamplifier solution is available, it can not only meet the highest quality aftermarket radio, it can exceed it. And we're very, very pleased that we've been able to results again and again. In fact, today we just had a new release for Ferrari, Ferrari Portofino, Most 150. So now we have 7 or 8 in our lineup, I guess now.
I gotta say, Derek, I've taken some mental notes here, and there's three things I want to kind of circle back to. So the first thing you said was exceeding, but we're talking about audio file quality sound, right? Generating from a factory stereo through the use of your products. That's number one. And the second thing is what I'm hearing is that there's a lot of complex situations that are coming as time moves forward with these vehicles. What type of solutions are you offering for these complex situations?
So we offer products ranging from most 50. In our case, that would be for General Motors. We offer AVB, also for General Motors in the newer vehicles. We offer most 150 for the Volkswagen Audi Group products. We offer it for the Mercedes-Benz products. We offer it now for the Ferrari Portofino, again on most 150. We offer most 25 for BMW. So the technologies are getting very, very broad. There's a lot of competing technologies for less expensive vehicles, and my guess, as good as yours, where they're going to lie. I think between AVB and A2B is really where we're going to see the consensus, because it is a quote unquote a shareware or a free license product, unlike most, where in the past the manufacturers had to pay a very, very high royalty and excessive fees in order to actually adopt the technology. We're seeing them go in the form of less expensive technologies, but technologies nonetheless that have the same or even better results.
Very good. Mr. Bates.
I was going to ask Derek, is the NavTV product line, are you guys still manufacturing it in the United States down at your facilities in Florida?
Yes, we are. We have since '99 when we were established. The vast majority of our products is manufactured, engineered in-house. The entire Zen audio line, from conception to design to engineering to manufacturing to quality control to packaging, is all done in our facility here in Coral Springs, Florida.
That's awesome. I think that's something to really be proud of, that you guys are actually manufacturing in North America as a North American brand. And I visited you guys many years ago, like many years ago in the early 2000s, and I was really impressed to see your facility back then. And I think that counts for a lot for a product like this, because it's engineered, designed, and built here in North America for North American vehicles, or North American market vehicles, I should say.
Well, it's not just North American market vehicles. We're a global enterprise. I mean, we sell on every continent. Fact is that there are differences in vehicles. In North America, sometimes Europe, sometimes Asia, sometimes South America. So one of the things that we actually did in our product line, the Zen Audio product line, is we accounted for them. We know, because look, we are as an industry, we're small. We're also a small company. In comparison to things, we can't be all over the world. And when variant coding happens, which has been mentioned, one of the things that we did is we actually have a back end on our own products, where our engineers can actually access the products. They can actually look at what the difference is on the bus, on that vehicle, remotely anywhere in the world that has an internet connection. And we can actually make changes to our software. So it's been a huge advantage. One of the things that we did right from the start that was actually launched over 3 years ago with the M650. And it's been invaluable, because the vehicles today are not just changing at the dealership; they're changing over the air. GM, Ford, Chrysler, these guys are all Wi-Fi connected. Not to mention Mercedes, and the list goes on and on. When they see a need to change things, it's not like they contact any of the companies that have been on this broadcast or any company, period, in 12 volt and say, hey, we saw a problem or we saw a need to change. In some cases, they're broadcasting. In other cases, you go to a dealership for an oil change, and all of a sudden, the way it works is changed. So these are some of the challenges we face with OEM integration. Is we can release an extremely solid product today, and in 2 weeks, if the OEM decides they want to change things, it may change the way that our product changes. So with us implementing this from the get-go, it enables us, as a little shop in Florida, globally, to be able to correct these measures in the field and help our installers and make the customer satisfied with the end result.
So you mentioned customer, and that's the key word tonight, of course, is the customer. What message do you have for customers that they could take your product line, what you're offering, and leverage them to convert to sales with the type of products that you're offering?
Well, it's like anything. I think that most of the people listening have head unit lines. And in a head unit line, they're going to have something from an entry level to a high end. With our product line, I think that our pricing has been fair for what we're offering. By and far, we offer the highest quality components. I mean, you can say Burr Brown, Renesas, the list goes on and on. We chose only the best components to do this. We didn't go about this in a manner where we skimped on things. We did it in a level where, again, we wanted to be able to produce sound quality at least at the level of any aftermarket deck ever produced. And we've achieved that from day one. If you're very serious about wanting the best quality sound in your customers' vehicles and our products are compatible with the need, I highly encourage you to contact us or one of our distributors. In Canada, it's Jemson, to find out how they can help you be successful. That's what it's.
Absolutely. And it sounds like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like you may have solutions for one of those, what I would call those impossible vehicles. The vehicles that are coming with, like, I'm thinking in my mind, maybe a European vehicle, maybe an Audi. They're coming with, like, there's no more 4 or 6 speakers. We're talking, 18, 20 something speakers. It's got so much going on. Do you have something for these type of, because there are dealers out there that have clients with high-end vehicles that want to find solutions?
Well, it's not just high-end. And the answer to your question is yes, we do. But our biggest selling units for Ford, believe it or not, the A2B.
Really?
Sells huge numbers. I mean, these trucks aren't cheap. I know, I own one. My wife drives it. I pay the bill every month. It's not inexpensive. But yeah, a good example. So that's in our Zen V line. So Audi, VW, Porsche, some of the Lamborghini vehicles, VAG. The Audi system, the B&O system, I actually did a teardown of a car we had at our facility. What I found was there was 23 channels in their top end system. 23.
Wow.
Okay. 23. If you were going to do a traditionally based system, you'd have to actually pass 14 of those channels. So that means 14 individual channels of amplification. Now, the cost of doing that becomes astronomical compared to, let's say, a 4-channel amplifier and a mono, for example. And that's not where it stops. You have noise cancellation. You have the fact that you cannot deal with anything with the factory EQ. You can't do anything with the factory crossover in traditional means. With our systems, it gives you a completely flat response. So if you want to reassign things in certain cases, if you want to be able to produce predictable outcomes, and that's where I will say it again and again, predictable outcomes, okay? With less time, less energy, less labor, and less guessing. Okay, Jason had a really, really great post tonight about testing tools. The fact is that our dealers as a whole don't all produce these tools. So if you don't have an RTA, if you don't have an oscilloscope, if you don't have certain things, how are you going to gauge what's coming out of the outputs of anything else? At least with our devices, you know that you have in our case, we limit it to 18.5 to 23 kilohertz range. You're getting a full 20 to 20 spectrum without EQ, without all pass filters, without anything, which is impossible through traditional means. And you're able to use your Bluetooth in a $5,000, $50,000 system without any deterrent to the echo cancellation system. That is a huge, huge deal.
Jeff, I'm going to hand this over to you for the final question.
Well, I think, the final question would be, what do you see coming up with regards to the Hondas, the Toyotas, and some of the entry-level vehicles? Are you starting to see, you mentioned that Honda is starting to go to the most standard. Is this becoming more common now, and is this going to be something we need to look out for in the next few years?
I think that what's happening is these OEM companies are very smart. They don't just launch a new technology. In the case of Honda, they did it on a very, very small sliver the spectrum. The first that we saw most being implemented in Honda was on the Odyssey in higher end levels. Now, I don't expect that a Honda Odyssey is a very, very attractive aftermarket add-on, unless you're doing like video or something for the kids. I know I used to own one, and that's what I had in my own car. I had an iPod adapter from PAC, and I had a flip down from AudioFox, with it. So, they're looking for it. BMW did it with AVB back in 2015. They did it on their 360 camera system. They're all looking at these technologies. The list goes on and on with guesstimation. But look, my magic 8 ball is not very accurate. I can tell you, hey, I think this is what's going to happen. The truth is that they're all looking for cost-saving measures. They're all looking for a robust network that can deliver a reliable, repeatable experience to the consumer. And through a variety of new technologies, that is highly achievable. In fact, guaranteed. It's been proven, over and over again. AVB being the newest in-car technology, it's been around for 10 years. It's been used in, you guys have been to a major concert, they're using AVB, okay? This is something that can broadcast audio, video, it can timeline things, it can do all kinds of very interesting things very cheaply and very fast.
Very good. Hey, Dave, Derek, thank you so much for joining us and sharing the wealth of knowledge that you have to share and the expertise that you have. Guys, if you're looking at NAV TV or Zen Audio products in Canada, Derek mentioned it before, it's through GemSend Distribution. And you want to stay until the end of the show because we've got a special offer for you dealers out there in Canada that GemSend's offering on NAV TV and Zen Audio products. Derek, we're going to take a little break. And when we come back, we're going to get everybody back on board for a quick roundtable discussion, so don't you dare go away. Make sure to check out SiriusXM.ca/SXV300 to learn about all the amazing benefits of adding the Connect Vehicle Tuner to your SiriusXM Ready car stereo, including how to save 2 ways with 3 months free, plus free tuner after $80 rebate. All right. Well, welcome back, gentlemen. Thank you for sticking around for the very end. This is arguably one of my favorite parts of the show where we kind of get to talk about, items that affect all of us within the industry in this particular segment. So let's get going. There's 3 or 4 questions that I've kind of, postmarked out here. And one of the first question is, and I think Derek kind of touched on it, and I'm going to start with Jeff. Where, in your opinion, and based on the type of products that you've been that PAC has been coming up with, and all these other brands have been coming up with, where's the trend headed for OEM integration for the next 5 years?
Wow.
Audio. I would have to put my bet on a combination of both. Oh, it's Jeff.
Sorry, I meant Jeff Smith. Yes, Jeff Smith. I'm getting confused with the Jeffs.
Sorry about that. I would think, man, over the next 5 years, OEM integration is going to be a situation of, like Derek was saying, being able to connect into these newer bus systems and become part of the vehicle. As aftermarket companies, as we all are, it's going to be figuring out how to effectively and cost effectively tap into these data bus systems and become one with the vehicle. It's going to become a situation where line output converters are going to be a thing of the past on a lot of vehicles, integrating into the screens, into the amplifiers and things like that. It's going to require our industry to evolve. It's so weird that car audio evolution, as far as an industry and the technicians in the retail stores, I did a speaking piece back in 2008, 2009 at CES about the evolution of the install bay. And that was a big topic. Even back then when we were worrying about little Bose integration and things like that, the evolution of the OEMs is going to make our industry evolve. And if we don't evolve, we're going to die as an industry. Our retailers are going to die. So in the next 5 years, it's going to get extremely complicated, extremely intuitive for our dealers to educate themselves, to educate their technicians. And us as manufacturers, we're going to have to provide these tools to our dealers so that integrating into these vehicles becomes more commonplace and not as scary as it may be for those who haven't dived into OEM integration. So it's definitely going to be a huge learning curve.
Yeah, and that kind of echoes a little bit of the theme is, you have to stay ahead of the game. And I think it's a fine balance between, keeping dealers informed and up to speed such that they can take advantage of the tools and the products that are out there. I want to go to Phil Cameron real quick. Phil, you heard what Jeff Smith said. How do you feel about what the next 5 years is looking like as far as OEM integration is concerned?
Well, there's not much to add. I think he probably covered it all. It's getting, how can I say this, a little bit more complex. It requires more involvement from the aftermarket industry, but at the same time, it will become a little bit easier, if that makes sense. Once the solution is out, because those solutions are so well built, integrated, T-harness and tested, that for the technician that will do the job, it will be a lot easier than back in the day where everything was 100% analog. So it's more complex, but easier at the same time. I don't know if that makes sense.
I think it does.
It makes sense in French in my head.
Hey, French, Jeff, Jeff Bates, what do you have to say about that?
I think I wholeheartedly agree with that. It's more complex than the knowledge that you have to understand what the integration parts are. But those integration parts, with the advent of T-harnesses and advanced programming and the ease of programming, is actually making our lives a little bit easier, or actually a lot easier in a lot of the cases, because you're not splicing, you're not, probing. A lot of the times you're plugging in and setting levels and basically going forward from there.
Yeah, well, I'd like to pivot on that statement, and I'd like to turn to Jason from WaveTech. He brought it up, and I think also Derek had brought it up. Dealers need to invest in a certain amount of tools and hardware to properly sell through OEM integration. Talk to us real quick, if you had a short list, what you would recommend to dealers look into as far as equipment is concerned.
Well, just to get started, at least to have a good voltmeter and a set of test tracks that you can run either wirelessly through Bluetooth or through the radio somehow. And that's just for the bare basics. Know what kind of voltages you're dealing with, and if there's a full range signal there or not, and where things clip. And that's going to be true whether or not you're integrating the bus or doing everything analog. You need to know what kind of signal you're dealing with, and just using your ears isn't necessarily good enough. So yeah, it's a very low threshold. I mean, it's like I said, you can get everything you need, every single piece in the toolkit for under a couple $100, but you can buy an O-scope today for like $40-$50 that'll at least tell you where your clipping point is. So but I think long term though, I think obviously that I think dealers are just starting to get onto the basics of OEM integration, and obviously a lot of dealers have been doing it for a long time. But I think education is going to continue to be key, and it's going to be all the above for a long time, because as we know, I mean, the used car market that's on the road today is at least 10 years old, and a lot of those cars back 2010 or whatever were starting to get into the high voltage kind of sound system of things, and you got to know what you're dealing with, and to guarantee good sound for the customer.
Very good. And you're talking about trying to influence dealers to take OEM integration a little bit more serious and seeing it as an opportunity. Right. I'd like to talk to Gatlin over at Metra. You mentioned during your presentation, Gatlin, that Metra has the tools in place, has the resources. What resources exist for dealers to do the research and get information?
And so, we have our Facebook outfits, our Facebook Metra Dealers Only page, as well as our Metra Tech Support pages. And, people are talking in regards to, are things getting easier for OEM integration? And the answer is no, they're not getting any easier. But, we rely on a lot of our retailers and distributors to kind of help and give us some information when they're in the bay using these pieces. And so, if anything that Metra can do, we can try to make more applications and more plug-and-play devices that allow the end user retailer to create more profitability in their bay and have more solutions at hand. So it's not as a daunting of a task to start integrating, especially in the DSP realm. A nice plug and play, easy solution with a lot of different applications on vehicles that you'll averagely see. Things like, Dodge Rams and Chevy pickup trucks and so on and so forth. We don't cater to Lamborghini Huracans, but who's to say in the future that we won't have a plug and play solution for things like BMWs, Mercedes-Benz, and so on and so forth. And so I think that kind of touches base with that.
Absolutely. So we're going to round this last question. I'm going to bring it all the way back down to Derek. Derek, here's the big question with the dealers watching, and here's what I wanted to get to at the bottom line. Yes, OEM integration may be intimidating for some dealers. So what advice do you have for them to get up to speed ASAP and start making money with it?
Well, I think that the first thing is they need to embrace it. There's still a lot of dealers that are extremely scared of it. You need to use the tools you have in your own facilities to reach out to find out what's available. And if you have multiple sources, find out what makes one different from the other. There's a very, very large difference in selling an OEM integration piece to a guy with a $2,000 or $3,000 system to a guy with a $5,000 to $10,000 to $20,000 system. So if you can start off with a good baseline, then anything you do is going to be an improvement. If you don't, no matter what you throw at it, no matter what amp it is, no matter what DSP, no matter what speaker it is, you're not going to be able to get the same predictable results. And to be able to guarantee that customer that what he's going to get is what he heard in your sound room or your demo car, which is a much better way to demo things.
That's amazing advice, guys. You heard it here first. Gentlemen, everybody, thank you so much for joining us this evening and spending an hour and a half of your time. We do appreciate you, and hopefully we'll have you back sooner than later, maybe for a part 2 in 2021, and expand on this OEM integration segment. Mr. Bates, here we are, closing remarks. We've gone through the spectrum of OEM integration products. We've heard different technologies, different angles, different offerings. How do you sum this up? What did we learn tonight?
We learned a lot tonight, and I'm going to sum it up in repeating what Derek just said, which is, OEM integration is about having a good baseline and getting predictable results, so that no matter what you put into the vehicle, you're going to get those results that the customer is looking for. And I think using the products that we've seen with the brands that have been on tonight, you will be able to achieve that.
Man, thank you very much. From the horse's mouth, Jeff Bates, thank you for joining us again. We'll see you on the next one.
Have a great night.
Hey, guys, I mentioned earlier during all the segments that we've got some really, really great offers that are coming to you only exclusively here on CMA Live. So I'm going to go ahead and share some of those offers with you. The very first one is regarding access products. So access products, BB Distribution is offering some pretty cool deals here with that AX SWC. All the details, of course, I know it's hard to read sometimes on the screen, but we'll make sure we post that on our Facebook page. Make sure you get in on that one. Obviously, for a limited time only. It's not going to be here forever. And it's 15% off the single lot dealer price on all other access products as well. Just remember, it's valid only for December 2nd. Let's get to the next offer. Another really good one, also from BB Distribution. Hey, iData Link Maestro. It's a one-day offer with 1,000 reward points, those BB reward points. Make sure you contact BB Distribution for the iData Link Maestro one-day offer. Every module purchased, you get 1,000 BB reward points. And last but not least, we also have an offer coming to you from Gemsen with regards to Nav TV Zen Audio. It's a CMA special, of course. Promo code Zen15. They have a website, shop.gemsen.com. It's only valid for Canadian customers, and it ends December 8th. So that's Nav TV offer from Gemsen. Guys, of course, we're going to post this on our Facebook page and make sure that you have all the details there. Okay. What an episode. I'm really happy that I got to learn personally about what OEM integration is, what the options are out there. I hope you guys at home got to learn a little bit and improved your knowledge and see an opportunity in OEM integration to hopefully make it more profitable for you and your shop. In 2 weeks' time, we're going to have our next episode. And I got to say, this one I am super pumped about. It's going down Wednesday, December 16th. The theme, the audiophiles. We're talking high-end elite brands. We're talking Focal. We're talking Morel, Audio-Tech Fisher, AudioFrog, and the Orca Group with Glidden and Moscone brands. They're going to be in the house. We're going to have some of the brightest minds in car audio, audiophile world joining us in 2 weeks' time. Of course, make sure you follow our Facebook page as well as our Instagram at Canadian Mobile. And, of course, our website at CanadianMobileAudio.com. It's been a blast, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Hey, we'll do it again in 2 weeks, the audiophile episode. Don't you dare go away and miss that. CMA Live presented by SiriusXM. I'm Ben Wu. Until next time, we connect.